Welcome back, everybody, to Waadaplaya Concussion Sub Series to review day three of fourth test at Oval, where India is nicely placed. I think the game was in perfect balance as of day three, but day two. But as of bad light stopping in India, are 171 runs ahead with seven more wickets in hand. To talk about how the day went and what can we expect on four and fifth day, we have a power pack panel today. We have Adi from San Fran, Adi from India, Sid, Sanjay Dubey, and Vishak. Wow, Rohit Sharma century, and we got big players back on our show. How are you? How is everybody doing, and how did you enjoy the day three at Oval?
बहुत मजा है बहुत मजा है थैंक्स सुमन
It was great, Suman. Like seeing Rohit Sharma bat, especially the way India started and then the way Rohit Sharma batted. Really, he showed us like test match temperament. It was really good.
Yeah, and like I stay on the west coast in the US, so match starts at 3 a.m. So there is a higher level of effort or requirement, for waking up and watching. Glad I woke up and watched the whole day because I've had horror stories. I was talking to people before we started, like, oh, that 78 all out was there, and last test match, the last day, we like collapsed very easily, where everyone was like hopeful. Oh, India is like what 190 for three, we'll bat the whole day, whatever, pull out a miracle. But yeah, this was a really good day, and hopefully one more good day tomorrow.
And just to add on to what everybody's saying, what I really liked is, the way Rohit and KL Rahul play. It just makes you fall in love with cricket again. There is this good old-fashioned batting about them. I mean, I like the way Ollie Pope was playing yesterday. There's nothing. There's no. There's no. How do I explain? There's no flash, but a lot of substance in their batting. And what I also liked is how the day was ending. We saw a very calm Kohli talking to Ollie Robinson and Chris Overton, and sometimes I don't know. I think we want to see a more friendly Test cricket atmosphere, and I really like the way it ended today. So apart from the other factors, India, it's going right for India. The overall tone of the match really looked right to me.
I think finally a good batting day for India on the tour. England has had one 400 plus score. Even when we won at Lords, I think it was majorly through a mix of batting and bowling. I think finally a good, solid batting day from India. Still, I think we are probably yet to see that 400 plus score from India in the series. So that looks pretty much on the cards. Also, I think this was the day where we probably expected the best batting conditions across the series. Day three at Oval is expected to be slightly flatter. So, but you had to capitalize. So, good day, I think, overall for India, but I think only just ahead till now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just ahead.
right. I'll say one comment, right? Like I actually like when both teams are fighting and fired up because I think that fired up our ballers. That's the only reason we won in Lords, right? Like because in just like 50 overs or something, about like 55, 60 overs to get hit at them, and that was one of the best bowling performances I've seen. Like Indian fast bowlers bowling like abroad, like in my like I've been seeing cricket for so long, but we dropped so many catches. There were so many near misses. Still, we were able to get them all out for under 55 overs. So I hope some fight happens. Then Kohli will be fired up. All the fast bowlers will be fired up, and that's how we can hopefully like win and chase this down. Because the pitch is flat, boss. Like there's, and next 2 days I was looking at the forecast. It is all sunny again. So today as well, it started out sunny, which was great. But then in between, just before lunch, it became clouded, and that's when the problem started for Rahul and Rohit as well, right? So if it stays sunny, even 325 is not safe, is my take, because
Yeah,
it's
definitely. And I think India played extremely well, and England did not bowl badly. Thoughts about Root's captaincy? Could he have done anything different today, or is just that conditions were not conducive and India were on top of their game?
One thing which I saw with Root was even when India was 50 runs ahead, he already went on the defensive. There were fielders in deep point, deep cover, and all. It's just 50 runs ahead. It's like the team is just 50 for one. If you look at it, he was looking at the overall score, not at the lead. and he became defensive. That is not good captaincy. At India is actually chasing the game here. England wasn't chasing the game. So if he could have one thing which I saw is, and he was actually looking for 4 times Rohit Sharma played a shot in the air, and then he placed a fielder at short mid on. Had he had those attacking fields earlier, maybe he could have got those wicket. And Rohit Sharma didn't play that shot afterwards. I think it was completely defensive captaincy. Maybe if India were around 200 runs ahead and he had gone defensive, it was okay. But just 50 runs and going defensive, I think that was bad captaincy. But yeah, I think England still bowled well, but it was good batting, but definitely bad captaincy from Root.
Yeah,
इसमें
except
मुझे लगता है
for
कि
Moin Ali, who went for over 4 and over. Other bowlers in England are average of 2.5 or 3. So definitely I felt the attack was not there from a captaincy point of view. Any other thoughts on Root?
I also
I
feel
think one
that.
thing sorry, Sid, go ahead, please.
No, Aditya, please go ahead.
शर्मा जी आप बोल लीजिए, आपका दिन है आज, आप बोलिए.
अरे किसी दिन तो
आप
मारना था ना मुझे. So I mean, एक मुझे one of the things that actually baffled me is I think he's too. I think both the captains. This applies to Kohli as well. I think they're too worried about the matchups. Like Robinson was there and he was bowling to Kohli just because there's a computer simulation and things like that telling you that okay he gets Kohli out, but he's bowling the same line, and there was good bit of banter happening between the bowler and the batsman. And as a captain, I would be very surprised that why is my bowler relaxed? He's my fast bowler. He's supposed to be the firing gun, and I should just change the bowler from the other end. So I also saw that Kohli when that Kohli Robinson that rom-com was happening, I really thought that he could have bought in Vokes. He could have done anything else. But I think he's too much worried about what happens in the back end with the data stuff. So I feel, and I've seen this version of Root in the Indian series as well when when they were traveling. Is he's not the kind of a captain who will try something out of the box. He's very much by the book, and that doesn't get him the results that he should always be getting. तो वो एक problem रही है इसके साथ.
Yeah, he's also defensive. Like to that point, like I think this is the second or third time in the series where bad light has presented itself, and he's like, "No, I will ball my fast bowlers. I will get out." Like even now, like okay, India is slightly ahead of the game, but it is not like India is running away with the game, right? We are what like still under 200 lead, 1 wicket away from a collapse. Like he has seen India collapse so often in this series, right? And maybe he could have, if he would have been a more attacking mindset, he would have bowled a few more overs of Moeen Ali and Root. Like, okay, that might have cost you 15-20 runs. That's okay. But even if you get one of those wickets, that's a huge deal, right? It might open up, Pant might come. Maybe if he hits you for another few runs, then you don't stop it. But yeah, he gets defensive very quickly, right? Same point. So yeah, let's see. Like I personally don't like Root is a good, decent captain, but he's not like your innovative, out of the box thinking sort of captain. He's like goes into his shell very easily, as pointed out earlier.
And just to add to that point, I think recency effect is so prevalent in cricket. I think in sports in general. Just one Test match back, discussions were whether Root is the greatest England captain ever. Of course, I think if you spend so much time in a role, you will have the highest wins, but you'll also have probably the highest loss. They were, I think, 7, 8 test match without a victory, and suddenly after one test, everyone was like, "Is Root the greatest England captain?" I mean, and one test match back, I think we were contemplating whether Ashes would be the final nail in his captaincy career. So I think, to be honest, like, and one more trick I think Root has missed, which uh, I mean, more than Root, the way English cricket is run, I think it has been missed by the coach and the analysts. Is prior to the match, which was not getting Mark Wood in despite of him being fit. I think so. You in this attack, you need that enforcer, and that is especially on a track like Oval, where once the ball gets softer, you need that enforcer. And probably instead of Overton, he could have slipped into this team.
Yeah,
एक
Overton is
last
also a
point
defensive. Go ahead.
एक लास्ट पॉइंट में रूट की कैप्टनसी के बारे में बोल देता हूँ. रूट एकदम एवरेज कैप्टन है, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है. पूरा समर आप देख लें, न्यूजीलैंड के साथ लॉर्ड्स में फाइनल डे, 60 ऑड ओवर्स में जो भी रन बनाने थे उन्होंने कोशिश भी नहीं की. अगेन लॉर्ड्स इंडिया के साथ शमी और बुमराह जब आए पूरा फील्ड फैला दिया. तो बहुत एवरेज कैप्टनसी, बट ही इज डेफिनेटली द ग्रेटेस्ट बैट्समैन इंग्लैंड have and will produce, I think, probably in years to come. तो इनकी कैप्टनसी में कोई दो राय नहीं है, बहुत एवरेज है. और जब दूसरी टीम थोड़ी बढ़त ले लेती है तो आप इन जनरल किसी भी कैप्टनसी को देखें तो लोग चाहते हैं कि थोड़ा रन बच जाए, बाकी फिर गेम दूसरी टीम ही चलाती है.
Right. And what I meant was like Overton, picking Overton over Wood is also a defensive move, right? Like Overton will field in slips. He's a better batsman than Wood. So it's also again like defensive mindset, not like attacking. Okay. Vokes is actually a really good batsman. So you're getting Vokes' insurance with batting. You don't need Overton's insurance also. But they still picked Overton over Wood, which is not like this thing, because none of the England bowlers can hit 90 miles an hour. All are like 80, 85 range, right? So they don't have like an enforcer or a fast bowler. Like India has Bumrah, or England used to have Archer or Wood. Like now, no. Yeah.
And we will talk about one other point before we switch to India performance. England dropped 6 catches, and they have themselves to blame if they lose this test match. Any thoughts? Michael Vaughan's ready to give fielding practice to Rory Burns, as per Twitter.
मेरे हिसाब से बैटिंग प्रैक्टिस की भी जरूरत है उन्हें.
Go ahead, Sid. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I think Rory Burns को बैटिंग प्रैक्टिस की भी बहुत जरूरत है, apart from the fielding practice. And you know, this is where I really feel that we were talking before the show that cricket is a very skill based game. No matter how much CrossFit you do, no matter how aesthetically pleasing you are, you need those hands. You need that amount of anticipation that in which direction the ball will go. I remember the Aussie slip cordon, and I don't remember anything going down ever. And I think one example they can pick is the Indian fielding. We haven't seen such a good fielding unit in donkey's years actually. And I feel in लोग के साथ वही है कि it kind of rubs off. They get very nervous. It's that classical English thing that when you're just about to get there, you choke. I always felt that this game was with England, and it just a case of shaky hands. And of course the media scrutiny, just like Aditya pointed out earlier. Joe Root is suddenly the best captain in the world, and suddenly you're hearing about it. I mean it's just there in the next hour that these guys have butterfingers. So I feel yes, सबका ना culmination is that you see this in their playing style. I mean I think they are the classical chokers. साउथ अफ्रीका का नाम खराब है.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What about Pujara? Something changed with Pujara.
Just to add on, sorry,
go
just
ahead.
to interrupt, like just to add on the catching point, I think one weird thing is that this oval test match has been slightly, and there's no, I think, logic to explain it, but it has been slightly tough for slip catching because of the only one reason that the ball seems to move slightly after passing the stumps. And I think Root took a catch in the first innings after dropping one, where the ball moved again late, and then he had that expression which usually all of the fielders we have after dropping and then taking, that the ball moved again. But this is what is happening. I think even a couple of punches down the ground, I think one which Chris Wokes moved early and it fell probably right or left of his, that also I think moved slightly, and this happens in England. I think Barrister has also struggled a little bit behind the stump. So this probably, I think, ball moving slightly after passing the stumps and wobbling, I think, has contributed. And maybe with our slip cordon, with Virat standing there, I am never too secure with Kohli in the slips. He might have taken quite a few blinders, but not really sure if it wobbles actually like that. Then how safe we are also in the final innings.
I think the slip fielding is definitely a case of concern. Not only in this test innings, or in the first innings also they dropped 4 catches, and if you see throughout the series they have dropped a lot of catches. So their slip fielding is definitely a case of concern there. I think in that way, I think India have done much better in the slip fielding this time. I think we dropped far few lesser catches than we usually do. I think our wicketkeeper was also little safe compared where Pant was last year. Last time when we toured in 2018, is much
Mm.
safer behind the stumps. And I think Rohit Sharma in the slips, I think is a much better
Yeah,
bet than Virat Kohli, and is
yeah.
doing a great job.
Right. And I don't know if this stat was shown on like the Sony India feed or other feeds. I was watching the Sky Sports feed. They showed what is the percentage of slip catches each team has taken, right? Like over the last 3 years, I think 2019 Jan onwards, New Zealand was on top 90%. India was, I think, tied to like 84%. England is at like number 8, 74%. So England overall drops like a lot more catches, not just this series, but like in general. And then they also put up another stat from July 2010 onwards, like the last decade plus, in all England grounds, like how much percentage of catches are hold. Oval is the lowest and 63% by 10%, like next is 74 something percent. So they, like the commentators hypothesized that Oval, what happens is below the side screen also there are a lot of crowd sitting. Okay. So from slips, when you see apparently the ball is not clearly visible, and when it comes from the crowd, and there is something to do with like the height of the ground versus the seats also. So that is why I think there was one catch where Rory Burns completely missed the ball. It was like literally coming into his eye. He was looking like this, and ball went literally from his foot. So maybe they have to practice more. But yeah, like this is a tough ground, and England's already bad like across all test teams. So we are like, it's like probably the toughest for them. Yeah.
Brilliant points on Oval, both are these, because I remember 2005 Ashes, Shane Warne dropped Kevin Peterson, and we all know what Kevin Peterson did. It was again in
Exactly.
the same. Yeah.
No, they literally showed the Shane Warne dropping that catch after putting the stat, and Shane Warne was on air, and he was like, "Oh man, why are you showing that? I've taken 130 catches in my career. Show some catch which I've taken." Right? So yeah.
Excellent. So let's switch to Pujara. Change in approach. I mean, very positive, intent, scoring, strike rate is 60 plus. What must have changed?
I think that ankle injury he had, right, definitely changed his game kind of, because he knew that he cannot run the quick singles or doubles. So I think, and also England bowled a little short to him outside off, which also helped. And that uppercut, those shots were little pleasing to see. Those are not the kind of shots which Pujara plays. Actually, he plays well square of the wicket, which he did. But definitely, I felt that approach was very good, and that's how he usually bats in the Indian conditions. And maybe he just tried it out this time, and it worked well for him.
Okay. Excellent. And then talking through about Rohit Sharma batting, it was surprising for many that he never scored a century outside of India. Finally, that jinx is broken. Did he lose out on a potential double hundred or a 300 by that one mistake, unfortunately?
मुझे लगा ये 260-64 जो बनाए हैं वनडे में उससे भी ज्यादा बनाएंगे, एकदम मूड में लग रहे थे। और जितनी बढ़िया बल्लेबाजी इन्होंने की है, मुझे याद नहीं आता कि लास्ट 20 साल में एज एन ओपनर इंग्लैंड में किसी ने इतनी अच्छी बल्लेबाजी की हो। इनका ये डेफिनेटली हिज बेस्ट 100 बाय फार, बाय अ डिस्टेंस। और बहुत सरप्राइजिंग भी है कि इनका पहला ही है ये। दैट जस्ट गोज टू शो कि इतना मतलब वेस्ट किया है इन्होंने अपने गोल्डन ईयर्स, बट बेटर लेट देन नेवर। मुझे लगता है कि इन्होंने बहुत अच्छा मौका गवाया, बट इवन देन इट्स अ फिनोमिनल नॉक। और इससे अब तो सीरीज हारना नहीं चाहिए इंडिया को होपफुली। बट एक पॉइंट में ऐड कर दूं थोड़ा ड्रिफ्ट करके, 20 मिनट हो गया हम लोग ने अश्विन के बारे में बात नहीं किया। तो मैं ये बोलूं कि अगर अश्विन हमारे स्क्वाड में होते तो मैं कहता कि ये इंडिया का पलड़ा एकदम 75-25 है, और अश्विन नहीं है, इसीलिए आई वुड से दिस इज स्टिल 50-50।
Yes, 100% agree. Like, because we saw the amount of spin even Moeen Ali and Root are getting, and this is day 3. When Ashwin will bowl, hopefully it's third session. Like, if Ashwin would have bowled, hopefully it would have been in day 5 or the last session of day 4. And England has so many left-handers. Like, that is why I was confused. Like, okay, if England has right-handers, okay, some logic is there. England has so many left-handers, and Ashwin's record against left-handers is like exemplary. And this is where I am like, what sort of data analysis is fed into Kohli's head? Because in the toss he said England has left-handers, that's why we picked Jadeja. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, anyone with like stats guru can see like who's better against left-handers and like what happens with left-arm spinners. So let's see. Hopefully it doesn't hurt us. Like we hopefully I hope we win this test despite the selection blunders, right?
और मुझे एक और पॉइंट है इस पे बोलने के लिए. आई थिंक the absence of Ashwin has contributed to the first inning lead for England. I mean, अगर किसी ने भी इंडिया सीरीज देखी है, ऑली पोप, you look at any of these batsmen, they were struggling. Their footwork is not made for spin or quality spin, and मुझे नहीं लगता इतनी बड़ी lead बनती if Ashwin was playing.
Correct. I think he could have gotten Vokes out earlier as well, right? Like Vokes was like 30-40 lead was fine. I was mentally prepared. Okay, we just hit 190. Just keep lead under 40-50 and you're fine. But the end Vokes two partnerships which were there, that kind of, took the lead from like 35 to like 90. And all our fast bowlers were clueless against Vokes. But yeah, so good point.
I think
going to make
Ashwin's non-selection kind of deserves almost every day some point
Yeah.
to be discussed on the same
Mm.
quite clearly. But
It
I mean,
should be
just to add one more point to that is for the first couple of test matches, I just want, just being a devil's advocate, I can understand from India's strategy and Kohli's selection, because if you want to go in with five bowlers and you want to go in with four seamers, then probably the idea was that we want to go in with whom we think might be a better number seven batter, and maybe Jadeja was that, and also a better fielder. And another factor that while playing, I think in all these South Africa, Australia, and England countries, Jadeja gives that holding job slightly better than Ashwin. I think he also has a fifer in South Africa and all that. So in that sense, and maybe Ashwin would have come here and he would not have performed, maybe. But the only point is, after three test matches, when your spinner has not worked, and the main spinner who has 400 wickets and who has a very decent 30 plus average, pretty decent batting performance in Australia, just out of overall logic, just out of fairness, he should have played. And that's why even if Jadeja scores a 50, gets a fifer, it does not justify the non-selection of Ashwin, despite of anything. So that was, I think, that is something which is happening with Kohli quite a lot. I think he has dropped Rahane when he was vice captain South Africa a couple of years back. So these strange decisions keep coming.
No, I
Uh,
was talking about a radical idea, right? Like, okay, Rahane is there. He's kind of out of form. Like, let me put it mildly. He's not able to score many runs. And Ashwin also delivers decent amount with the bat. And now I think even the team management realized Rahane is not batting that well. And they promoted Jadeja ahead of Rahane. Now Jadeja is batting at 5. It was not just one innings, but both innings. That means it's a pattern. And they've decided Jadeja is the better form batsman, right? Then maybe for the next test match, if Rahane hopefully doesn't fail, but if he does, maybe you get Ashwin also in. It's okay. Like play six bowlers, that's fine, right? Like it's okay if we are able to get that option. Nothing like it, and yeah, that would be more like aggressive or radical move is what I'm talking about. But I don't think it will happen. Just like in my thought bubble of my head, like I was like maybe that will happen, but I doubt it will.
and I
the template will not change,
and I have a very
for
It is again 4-1.
So, and I have a very anecdotal kind of point here. I mean, and I'm sure we can look at back at the statistics here. Every team has a marquee bowler. We remember Australia had Shane Warne, and they played Shane Warne despite conditions. I mean, because he delivered. Similarly, Anderson. England has always played Anderson in conditions where it doesn't suit seam or swing as well. I just feel that you are taking away the best years of his life, where he hardly has any cricket left in him. It's very obvious, and it's not that it's not that it's a pity selection that usko chance de do. He is right now the best bowler in the world. I mean, you're talking about the best off spinner in the world. Does Australia drop Nathan Lyon for somebody else who can bat and bowl? No, we don't. And I feel that it's where I feel it doesn't make sense. I work with data all the time in my job to know that sometimes stories are more important than data,
but
and I feel it's one of those times.
can I slip in a random thought here? Who knows? This might be R. Ashwin's idea to Kohli, saying that go with Jadeja and make me sit down because of your template. What if it is his own idea?
I don't. I mean, Ashwin looks
I
like too
can
much
bet
of a
that's not the
competitive
case,
guy.
I'm sure.
I think. I mean, the Ashwin we know. I mean,
Yeah.
who can manket people out. I don't. He will outwit God if he has to.
अश्विन को ज्यादा समय मिल नहीं रहा था पॉडकास्ट और वीडियो बनाने में, तो उसने बोला प्लीज भाई मेरे को मत लो, मैं इसमें
मतलब
ज्यादा खुश हूँ.
मतलब वो आदमी काउंटी खेल रहा है, एंड ही इज परफॉर्मिंग वेल इन काउंटीज. अभी वो 3 महीने पहले बैठ के भाई लगा हुआ है. सो आई डोंट थिंक
That,
दैट ही वुड.
This
that
is the
Tim
Yeah.
crowd
Payne
where he
meme is
picked those
coming.
6 wickets. So I
Yeah,
don't think like what was the logic on behind dropping him here?
the
And
Tim
Ajay
Payne
P K,
memes, in which I think Tim Payne went ahead and said that at least my teammates don't hate me. That keeps flashing across social media now. After 4 tests, that we have seen that even Jarvo has spent more time than Ashwin on the field.
that's
A
true. And
shame.
Ajay PK says his daughter wouldn't be searching for him if it was his idea. That's a good point. Uh, Speaking of Ajay PK, he also has a controversial question for the panel. Ending the day like this just because you can't bowl pacers, how good idea is it? Is it killing the spirit of the game? They had two spinners anyway to complete the day. Thoughts?
ये तो गेम्समैनशिप है मेरे हिसाब से. इंडिया ने भी सेम किया था. इंडिया को तो क्लू भी नहीं था. बंद बैटिंग कर रहा था एंड ऑफ डे, फोर्थ डे पे लॉर्ड्स में, तो वहां से कोहली आवाज दे रहा है कि भाई दिख रहा है कि तुझे, लाइट मांग उसको और कुछ तो कर. एंड दैट्स व्हाट एग्जैक्टली दे डिड. ये थोड़ा सा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है because at least in the past, unlike say that famous test match in Karachi, जो मतलब अंधेरे में खेला गया था इंग्लैंड पाकिस्तान के बीच में, किसी को कुछ दिखा नहीं, और मोइन खान बोला भाई किधर बॉल दिख नहीं रहा, सिर्फ बैट्समैन को ही दिख रहा था. They won that series. But then it shifted कि at least umpires will make that call कि ये लाइट गुड इनफ है या नहीं. अब उसमें और एक नुआंस आ गया कि अच्छा ये लाइट गुड इनफ है स्पिनर्स के लिए लेकिन फास्ट बॉलर्स के लिए नहीं है. तो उसमें अपना जैसे टीम को सूट करती है वैसे. यही अगर 7-8 विकेट होता, लास्ट डे होता, तो आई एम श्योर रूट स्पिनर्स से चलाते रहते हैं जब तक चलता है गेम. तो ये थोड़ा सा है nuanced maybe, I don't know.
And I think game is at such a knife's edge right now that you can't afford even 10, 15 runs. I mean, who knows? And if Root and Moin would have bowled, I think India would have milked them. The way Moin has bowled, I think he has underwhelmed throughout the series. I think it was a fair call from Root.
Yeah, I have like horror stories of Moeen Ali, right? Like horrors keep coming. So many times India have given him so many free wickets, and so many times we have collapsed. Like not even like 1-2 wickets.
Yes.
We give him 4, 5, 6 wickets, right? And we lose the match. So it kind of comes down to how aggressive a captain is. So if it was someone like Michael Clark, I'm definitely sure he would have been like, "Chalo, ball two spinners. I am willing to take that risk of 20-30 runs." But if it's someone like, yeah, like Root, he's like by the book, low risk taking attitude. He's like, no, I'm not bowling my spinners. I'm not taking that risk. And this is not the first time he's done it. I think he's done it twice or thrice in the series. Whenever that light thing comes, Empire say, "Chalo, ball with spinners," and he's like, no, 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 I'm getting my fastest bowler. Empire's like, okay, bye, done for the day. So yeah, he's kind of maybe he did not expect India to bat so well, so he's kind of flustered, right? We just lost 3 wickets in the day, so yeah. So
Okay.
Again, it all depends on the situation of the game also. If England need 2 wickets to win a test match, and if the umpire says this, will he go off?
nope.
It's all the situation of the game again.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the situation of the game demands such a way that he doesn't want to give the free runs here. And again, if people say this is wrong, Sunil Gavaskar was giving an idea yesterday that why don't batsmen waste time when there's just 1 over, just 1 minute, and there's an over. So batsmen have to waste time. Even that is wrong. You are not supposed to waste time. And even during the last day when team is losing, right? Some teams waste time over there as well. So everything is wrong. You just have to look at the point of view there and see what is. I think it's just based on the situation, the captains act, and this is just as Adi already mentioned, right? Root is doing this for the third time. It has worked for him once, didn't work for him the other time in Lords. So hope, and again it's a new ball. So maybe he wants to bowl Anderson and his other paces, Robinson tomorrow with a new ball and make them fresh and see if India they can rout in India in the first session. That would be their idea rather than taking there were 15 overs to be bowled. And if these two had a bowled, maybe who knows, India would have added another 60 runs in this 15 overs because when spinners were bowling, we were easily adding 3 to 4 runs an over. So if that would have happened, India would have led today by around 230 instead of 170, and India would have been on top. Looking at that, if again it's situation based, as I mentioned.
Yeah, he can always, like, this is the thing, right? He can always cut his losses. Like, oh, 2 overs he bowled, they hit 10-15 runs, done. So it's not like once he takes that decision, he has to continue to bowl. But I think one other larger context for the match is there is no rain forecast. There is like 180 overs left in the match effectively, right? So there's no urgency also for anyone to force a result. Like it's not like, hey, they're down in the series and this is the last test match and like one day is there, tomorrow full rain forecast is there. Then they had to be forced to, like, bowl these overs. But here it's 1-1. There is one more test match left. There are 2 full days of bright sunshine hopefully left. Bright sunshine tomorrow, first 2 sessions, and then full cloudy hopefully. So yeah, let's see.
इसमें मैं एक और पॉइंट जोड़ देता हूँ, and this is only in England where they do not want to start the play half an hour early. अगर आधे घंटे पहले ये लोग चलाएं तो कोई ये आधे घंटे जो पीछे जो चलते हैं इंडिया में, और in fact rest of the world, they start the play half an hour early, but England they never start the play before 11 o'clock.
They want their tea on time. They want their tea on time. They don't want like tradition and all this, right? Like they're a pretty stickler for all these rules, so they'll not change the time. Ideally, we saw in like all these Dinesh Karthik tweets and all this, right? Morning 9 o'clock only full sunlight is there, boss. Like go and play. Like it's not like players are sleeping till 10:30 and waking up and coming and playing at 11, right? So many test matches, light it has been like a problem. But no, we will just start at 11. Tradition, history, whatever. So they're not flexible. So that's the problem.
Yeah. So what can India look forward for 2 more days left? Syed asked a question: will this test match head for a draw? Number one. Thoughts?
I don't think so because there are a lot of overs yet. And even today, right, you saw some of the balls spinning. So it is going to deteriorate definitely. And the team batting last, if they get around 4 or 5 sessions, it would be really difficult. If India can bat around 1.5 sessions tomorrow, 1.5 to 2 sessions tomorrow, and give England 4 sessions, I think England will find it difficult. I'm not sure if Ashwin would have been there, it would have been great again. But again, I think even Jadeja can wreak havoc on this pitch with those rough outside the off stump of the left-handers, supposedly. And I think it will be tough for England, whoever bats last. So I think there is enough time to force a result, and draw is the least likely option at this point of time.
And I'll say this, like both teams' battings are so prone to collapses that I don't think like, India will hit 400 lead and England will be 200 for 3 at the end of fifth day. That I don't see happening. I ideally want 325 target at least from here. But anything over 275 also, I'm like mentally at peace with. Anything under 275 will be like a very bad batting performance by India tomorrow, right? So 325 target. Pitch is flat, but it's very hard to score 300 plus in the fourth innings, like of a test match, even in this day and age. So
100 more runs with 7 wickets. So Adi, India, what do you think?
Definitely not a draw until and unless I think weather comes in. Also, I think 300 is what, looking at this track. I think if it was any other track, I would have said 250 would be a decent score, but I think Oval seems to have eased out. So 300 would probably be kind of a just above par score for India. Also, I think Jadeja on the fifth day, when we compare him with Ashwin right now, yes, it looks like that we are slightly light. But Jadeja in isolation almost has an identical record, at least in India. In India, I think he has an average in early 20s, which is almost same as Ashwin. And once the pitch breaks down, he's almost as dangerous because of his pace and the speed that which he bowls. So pretty much, I think he should also come into play. So I think the game depends on how much India finally gets a lead. And I think that's where it will go on. But I won't be surprised if tomorrow morning India suddenly collapses, because that is what has happened throughout the series. And in England, that is something which never surprises any of one of us now. So even with 220, 230 on the board, it will be a pretty much a dogfight in the final innings.
Okay. And another interesting question. Say if Rahane gets to play tomorrow and scores 50, will he be back to number 5 in fifth test match?
I would just like to take that. Yeah. I don't think this decision has come because they wanted to shield Rahane. I think the logic which I see in this is basically the India's undoing for most of the series. An English plan has been to bowl in that channel outside off and seam away from the right-handers. and India has two left-handers at 6 and 7 back to back coming in. So I think the logic behind it is pretty solid. That you bring in Jadeja, and Jadeja has decent technique. Even when you compare him with Pant, he plays slightly close to the body, and he has knack of hanging around there. So him at number 5 is probably to break that rhythm of fast bowlers trying to take it away from the right-handers. So even if I think uh, Rahane scores a 50, that further I think solidifies the fact that this is working. So then Rahane will, unfortunately or fortunately for him, will stay at number 6.
Great points. Excellent. So you think Jadeja's technique is better than Pant? Because we were talking in our WhatsApp group. If it was left and right combination, why not send Pant instead of Jadeja?
No, not really on technique. I mean, very slightly, I think slightly subjective. But I think Pant is more sort of a batsman on whom India will bet more. So trying to shuffle his position would be a tricky thing to do. So I think that was why probably I think India went with Jadeja. That even if it does not work out, it is a move that they can switch back again.
No,
I
if
think
this
the
was
thought process.
something like an Australia or an Indian pitch, if India were in this situation, I would have backed Pant. With the ball moving around like this, Pant is definitely vulnerable. So Pant's technique does not suit this kind of conditions. So I think Jadeja definitely is a better bet on this conditions if you need to have a left-hander up the order than Pant.
And I think one of the other points is Jadeja can block, and Pant is always my way or the highway. So if things go south, you probably bank more on Jadeja to just block. I mean, I'm not sure how much would we see that with the kind of bowling that's happening.
And for Saurashtra, Jadeja bats at 5. He bats at 4 and 5 consistently for Saurashtra. So I don't think for him it's an alien thing. Also, Pant got 100 last time at Oval when India played, a big 100 on day 5. So we shouldn't be surprised if he gets a quick some 40-50 tomorrow.
Yeah, like everyone scores 50. No need for hundreds. Like Rahane, Pant, and Jadeja, and we'll be like 400 lead, 350 lead at least, and it should be fine, right?
इसमें ये
And
होना
we have
चाहिए.
Shardul Thakur as well who can score some runs. So
Yeah, he's the fastest scorer amongst all these. Like he'll come and like just go for it, right? Yeah.
चलो इंडिया को 60 ओवर में ऑल आउट हो जाना चाहिए, तभी एकदम मैच परफेक्ट बनेगा. डिक्लेयर का अगर चक्कर होगा तो मुझे लगता है ये 20-30 ओवर तो ये बैड लाइट ही खा जाएगी. और ये जो मिथुन ने बोला है एकदम सही है. इमेजिन दिस गोइंग टू द फिफ्थ डे लास्ट आवर वेयर द लाइट इज नॉट गुड इनफ फॉर फास्ट बॉलर्स. तो एक तरफ से जडेजा, दूसरी तरफ से रोहित शर्मा, जिसको मतलब बनाना है रन बनाओ, लेकिन विकेट के लिए यही
Wicket
करना
to
पड़ेगा. आई सी दैट हैपनिंग प्रॉब्ली.
हो
yeah,
सकता है कोहली की भी बॉलिंग दिख जाए बहुत टाइम बाद.
yeah.
रॉन्ग फुट से.
Yes.
Awesome. This is excellent. Great. So, lot to look forward for compared to last Saturday. This Saturday is definitely much happier. And going into Sunday, we will still have cricket. Result definitely for sure. My prediction is probably, I hate to say it, but I think the first session, India has the risk of getting bowled out. That's my worry, but hopefully it is not. If India plays through all of first session tomorrow, I think we are nicely set up going into a day and a half of attacking similar to Lords. But Adi, both the Adis, India and San Fran, thanks for joining in. Sanjay, Vishak, and Sid, really appreciate your insights. For folks who are watching, drop us a like, drop us a comment of what else you would like to see, and we'll be back tomorrow again on day 4 stumps. Thanks very much, and see you next time.
thanks a lot.
guys.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.